Am I saying to legalize drugs? Well, not exactly. What I'm saying is you've been deceived by scientists who lie and by hypochondriacs who support their lies in religion and in legislation, and by legislators who know the scientists are lying. And what I'm saying is the main part here is that I'm saying is look, we should regulate drugs. So it's different than legalizing. So there might be a legalization part, but you should allow for teas to be made. The main way people should use medicinal herbs, natural medicinal herbs, is to take two leaves, put them in a tea bag, and let that be used for people who are pre-exposed, right? I say never try a medicine if you've never tried a medicine. I say never try a medicine if you don't feel that you have to for some need, right? And then be very selective. You don't have to go experiment with all the medicines. If you think you're a scientist, I'm gonna say though, if you want to be a scientist and test products, I don't think we should necessarily outlaw that. If you're somebody who's not has doesn't have an addiction, but usually you'd want somebody pre-exposed to be that lab rat. Somebody's pre-exposed to the street drugs, let them be the lab rat, but with the two leaves. So to show you what the problem is, where you're being deceived is, it might be 500 leaves, or it might be 100, it might even be 50 leaves, but you're not going to take 10 green tea bags, uh, little bags of green tea. You're not going to take 10 of those and put them in a cup. You'll probably have a heart attack or something. People don't do that. But when they take some of these drugs that they've put into the street and demonized them as if they weren't created by God, natural medicines God created, and now the ones they crossbreed and all that, they aren't. But we don't know. I don't know for sure which ones they've crossbred over the years and which ones are natural. I assume the coca leaf, though, for example, is natural. But they want to demonize it because they're making money off it. Even doctors will tell you we wouldn't have any customers if it wasn't for the illegal, making cocaine illegal, basically. So maybe cocaine should be illegal except for prescription. That's a concentrated form, though. But to have that might be 50 to 100 leaves, or maybe 500 leaves. They're making slaves out of the producers. So the people that are stomping hundreds and hundreds of leaves to make one line of coke, or whatever it is, it might be 50 leaves to make one line of coke. They're being worked to death to do that. And they're growing. How fast are they growing these trees? Are they using steroids to grow them? But when you can simply take two leaves and it's a medicinal, safe form with not as strong as coffee, from what I've heard. I can't verify. So I'm just saying you're being fooled. So I am saying, so who do you take that risk with and try it with? Well, somebody who's buying cocaine from killers and thieves. So the problem is we've isolated people, and it's the worst part about it is actually the killers and thieves that are dealing it. And they're not, I'm not saying every one of them buy into it for that reason. Some of them think it's the money, but they're surrounded by that. It's the cartel. It's a society that's been taught to steal, and they use that as predators and all these kind of things. They poison it, they mix it. The worst part of the whole drug problem is really that culture. It's that killing and thieving culture. So that's the worst part. The drugs are the second worst part. The fact that there is the natural addiction things to fear that the Bible talks about, and that's obvious about getting too drunk or too high. Same thing. It's a form. The Bible calls it all different forms of drunkenness. So getting too drunk, I'm going to call it drunk. Those things are all real, but you got to tell the truth. You got to teach the truth. You got to teach people they don't need a medicine unless they're sick, and you got to teach people not to want to be sick. You got to teach them nutrition. You got to teach them balancing their nutrition, and continue to say that medicine is a last resort, and have people be a little bit embarrassed. And I'm not trying to teach pride, but be a little embarrassed. Maybe I have new wording here, but about if they have to take a medicine. It should be private, but if they do, they should first be diagnosed a natural plant in a tea form. And so there are problems with caffeine and products just the same as there would be with those tea forms. And but there should be a maximum of two leaves, maybe three leaves in a tea bag, or whatever they do with the tea bags of green tea. How many leaves is that? Probably should have similar rules and have it be regulated. The point is, you regulate it so it's not poisoned. You regulate it so it's not too strong. You regulate it, and then you still teach abstinence. I mean, I don't know. I don't see any other system that's better than that. And so you don't just hate on people because they chose to consume something. Because here's the problem: some people are pre-exposed. The pre-exposed people. The problem with that is that it's like. And it becomes part of their appetite. It's not that they're addicted automatically. Those are lies too. People aren't automatically addicted and all that. Hate to tell you, but they can be. You can automatically have a heart attack, but that's not the case most of the time. And that's why people don't believe all those fear mongering things. But you don't want to do is be outside the law. You want to love your neighbor. You want to love your government and respect the government and all that. But when they create a law like that, it's like a mousetrap. It's like it's a sabotage trap, because the people who have developed a taste for anything and you outlaw it, has nothing to do with loving your neighbor. It has nothing to do with a real crime, which is stealing from your neighbor, trying to harm your neighbor. It can lead to that, but it has nothing to do with that. If you do too much medicine, it can lead to that. When you're going through withdrawal, you can be short-tempered. Same thing with caffeine. And I've seen many people with bad tempers who use caffeine and can't listen. They all have ADD. They think talking is, we don't want to hear this. It hurts our conscience. It sears their conscience a little bit because it's a medicine. And it's the type of medicine it is too. And so they don't want to hear me talk about caffeine because they're like, you're trying to qualify other medicines. And we're going to call it medicines. That's what they are. These aren't medicines of the devil, but you can use anything for the devil, for evil, almost anything, just anything. I could use this phone for evil. I can be trying to teach evil now. And some psychotics, I don't know what to call them. Some people, evil Pharisees and people who think that salvation comes through sobriety, think I'm helping the devil here, but they're wrong. They're actually maybe crazy or power freaks or control freaks or whatever. But medicine is not of the devil. God created medicine. We do have pain in this world, and I don't care. And then those same people act like they're God and they've endured pain. They're like, they can be as tough as Jesus on the cross and not have any medicine. And I've heard them say I cut my own toenail off. I pulled my own toenail off when I had ingrown toenails. I'm not going to the hospital. All this kind of stuff. I don't need any medicine for that. They call medicine use a sin. And it's not a sin. The Bible does not call it a sin. In Proverbs chapter 31, give man strong drink on his deathbed. Give a poor man wine to drown his pains and sorrows from poverty, so he doesn't have to think of them anymore. That's for pain, the first one, and the next one's for depression pain. Hopelessness pain in this area of finances. And there can be hopelessness in a Christian's life too, in the area of finances at times. And that's not hopelessness that you'll never get to heaven. We always have that hope. But there is hopelessness when people block you for it can be 10 years or 9 years or a year. It may bother you. Some people get depressed if they have to wait a month because maybe they've waited many times before and they don't want to wait another month, for to have some financial relief or whatever. So, or some people get depressed through the week, 1 week. They get weekly paychecks and they're broke by the weekend, not because they went out and partied, but because they were catching up on a bill and plus had to fix a tire on their car or whatever else, and or buy a new phone, or do some repairs, and they're broke and they're waiting until their next paycheck. And they get discouraged. Some of them could get discouraged and then go party for the weekend. That happens too. I mean, it happens. You can hate it all you want, but it happens. So they paid those bills and then they got nothing left. So they decide to go drown their sorrows. And they don't need to be put in positions where it's dangerous to do that. We don't need to create laws that put them in more danger and compel them to drink harder by shaming them as if it's an unpardonable sin, which it isn't. So, but you can still at the same time compel people to stay abstinent and stay healthy. And the way to do that is to be into health and nutrition, because for our body's sake and to help our minds be more clear. That should be the goal. The goal shouldn't be to stay on medicine. So there's certain things people have to stay on it for, but psychology usually isn't one of them. Psychiatric stuff where they want them to stay on it, I don't believe in that stuff. I think you use it for what you need it for and get off of it ASAP. And I'm going to end before 10 minutes.